Hello, I'm Michael. This is Tarot by the Tree. We're looking at the minor arcana now, and we're in the suit of wands or staffs. Today we're looking at the Eight of Staffs. Remembering that this system works like this. There's the Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge. They hang on a balance that's represented by the 11th card, Justice. We're looking at the Eight of Staves today. Now, yesterday we were looking at the Seven of Staves, and the idea here is that a person has their plans and they're defending their plans against the competing plans of many other people. That person is set off on their own, and they are going to establish their own set of plans. There's always a problem with the cards, and this problem predates about 5 years ago, before the Tarot by the Tree system was discovered, where really all we had to judge the cards were the pictures and the numbers. We really didn't know how they corresponded to the Sephiroth on the Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge. The cards can be taken at face value. They are designed to be understood. But part of their deep meaning comes from their position on the tree. That will often generate two cards, one on the Tree of Life, one on the Tree of Knowledge. These two cards, when put together, will give us a clear understanding of what that Sephira is. Before we describe the card, we'll just take a little look at Arthur Edward Waite, and on his description of the Eight of Wands. This was before the system was developed, so it was very difficult. I remember going through these books and making notes and drawing pictures and trying to decipher what the meaning was, because it wasn't always crystal clear. This is Waite on the Eight of Wands. The card represents motion through the immovable, a flight of wands through an open country, but they draw to the term of their course. I have no idea what draw to the term of their course means. That which they signify is at hand. It may be even on the threshold. Divinatory meanings: activity and undertakings, the path of such an activity, swiftness as that of an express messenger, great haste, great hope, speed towards an end which promises assured felicity, generally that which is on the move. Okay. And we can sort of try to decipher meaning through that. We'll describe the card now. This is the card. We can see water. It's a river or a lake. There's green rolling fields. And there's a distant town or a fortress way up on the left. This card, if you look at other definitions of this card, the word swiftness will always be involved. And that's taking a superficial reading of what the card appears, because the staffs appear to be like spears being hurled through the air. And I suppose that denotes swiftness. And the Eight of Staves may be flying like spears. It's hard to tell in a picture, but perhaps that's what is happening. Sometimes with this card and the idea of swiftness comes the idea of overwhelming number of plans and messages coming your way, and that's a good place to start. So this card is a lot of plans, a lot of enterprise, a lot of messages all coming to you, and you're aware of this. Your job, when this card appears, is to treat all plans as equal and to consider all plans as simply new information. The place on the tree that the Eight of Staves represents is Hod. It's Sephira number 8 and 19. And these are very special cards, and we have talked about them before. This is how the Kabbalah talks about true and absolute strength. Originally, the strength card is represented by a woman of infinite potential subduing a lion. We have mentioned this is not an act of gentleness, mercy, or compassion. She could easily and happily kill the lion. She is doing this for a reason, to protect her village. She is absolute strength. There is no contest with her with strength, and yet she does not fall into anger. The other card, the other side of strength, which we'll be talking about with this card, is the sun. And here we see strength represented in another way that seems to go against what we've been brought up to see strength as. Of course, we've been brought up in a largely male-dominated land of movies and books, and we tend to see strength as a demonstration of the ability to destroy. What we see and what we learn through the wisdom of the tarot cards as reflected through the Kabbalah is that absolute strength does not display, does not threaten. It's not demonstrated. It is on the pillar of severity. It's capable of power, but it does not demonstrate or display. So the Eight of Wands, we know there's many messages coming at you, and part of the meaning of this is to, maybe for the first time, take seriously all messages that come your way for this period of time. Hidden in the accumulation of what may seem like nonsense, there will be something that pertains to your life right now. These messages are things that may apply to your own plans or enterprise. When you get this card, the message is now is not the time to oppose or reject. Respond appropriately to all messages. Be humble and non-threatening. Question politely. Do not argue. This is a card about you being placed in a new place of learning. It could be a relationship, it could be a job, it could be a study, it could be a new awareness. During this time, think to yourself that no one cares about how strong you are, how powerful you are, or how smart you are. What's happening here is you are being fed information to gain an awareness, not just how things are now, but where things came from in the past. You are not being asked to judge. You're being asked to learn. All messages that are coming at you during this time have an importance. It's very important to consider this card as making you a student. And as a student, consider the power of being a shadow. Whether you're in a new place, a job, or relationship, do not be in a hurry to reveal your strength. Let it be discovered. And this is part of the message of this card, that as a student, this is not the time for your ego to come into play. This is the time to put your ego on the shelf and be receptive to new information. What you're supposed to do is to be humble, be a mystery to the others around you. Communications you might normally ignore may have special significance right now. The Eight of Wands is about messages, speed of the messages, and they require a speed of your response. This is a time to gather information without discrimination. This is not your job right now to demonstrate your strength in any way, shape, or form. Be a beginner. Have no fear, but don't appear brave. Okay, why don't we turn to some of the questions?
Are the staffs and the Eight of Wands all flying through the air?
Certainly appears to. They certainly appear to be. I suppose they could be suspended there, but the idea that does come through is that these are messages coming at you in a place of learning. And these messages may not necessarily be from the present. They may be trying to teach you something about the evolution of the past.
What is the fortress in the distance?
Way in the distance, up on the hill, is a fortress. That is the college or the institution or the place of learning that you are in right now.
Who lives in the distant fortress?
In that distance fortress, the Hierophant lives. Remember, the Hierophant card is somebody who beckons acolytes to learn the ancient secrets.
What is the lake or river?
Okay, the lake or river in tarot cards generally has something to do with intuition and imagination rather than a barrier. And I think in this case, because you're at a place of learning, your job is to take all information and make sense of it. And you will have to use your imagination to do this. Again, you're not searching to be better than anybody with the right answers. What you're doing is you're filtering through information and you're just gathering some new understanding into your mind.
How would you know this is a card about strength?
Well, you wouldn't just to look at the card, and that's the problem. Before the Tarot by the Tree system, we only had the cards, but now we do have the system. We know this card relates to one of the Sephiroth. So this is in the realm of the sun and strength in the place of Hod. The type of strength mentioned here is not the type of strength you're ever going to see in heroic movies. This is the type of strength that needs no demonstration. Here's a kind of a silly explanation. Imagine you live in a world where everybody has the physical strength of a 4-year-old. They're fully grown and they do all the sports. Of course, you could outrun them, you could outthrow them, but everybody in your world has the strength of a 4-year-old. Now, I want you just to imagine walking through a kindergarten classroom. Is there any swagger to your walk? If someone bumps into you, do you push them and say, hey, watch it? This is the idea of unquestioned strength, not needing bravado. And so this card of learning and messages is in the card of strength that is not paraded in front of people. And that's how we know. And we only know that because of the relationship through the Tarot by the Tree system.
Is the moral of the card to be compassionate?
No, not at all. And it's to be humble, it's to be non-active, it's not to demonstrate your strength, but it's on the side of severity. So there is no great onus on you to be very merciful here. This is a card of learning to understand and in the future being able to reject things that don't make sense to you. It is on the side of severity. It will in the future exclude some things, but for now, it is giving you a chance to look at many things and withhold judgment temporarily.
Feel free to put anything in the chat to be answered. Okay. Is this a card about action?
Um, these refer to plans and your enterprise. And in this card, I wouldn't say it's not about action, but I would say it is more about contemplation and internalization. Action involves a certain kind of confidence and performance, which will come later. This card is about acquiring, and it's about using your strengths to withhold some of your dislike of something or non-interest in something. It's about opening yourself up to everything because there is something of importance coming your way, but it won't appear to be important at the time.
What does the Eight of Staff suggest about my own plans or enterprise?
Uh, it suggests being really humble. When you meet people, don't try to impress them. Present your plans and let your plans do the impressing. For yourself, use every opportunity to acquire knowledge and information. When somebody says something that you disagree with, don't react, don't try to outpower them. Instead, consider where they're coming from and how what they said probably does have some relevance to your life.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. This is a card about the hurtling of messages toward us that, if we're aware at all, can sometimes seem overwhelming. We live in a world of communication, wanted and unwanted. This card tells you be receptive, and we are often not receptive because there's too much input. We have to have filters and barriers. This card says remove them. Take every message, temporarily, of course, take every message for this time being seriously and respond quickly. Finally, be meek and mild and don't show off. Thanks for tuning in. That's it for today. We'll see you soon.